Hey guys, what's going on? How y'all doing? Okay. I hear you loud and clear. I'm totally listening to you right now. Well. Man, are we the most conflicted, confusing, and flippant person that you will ever meet. Because guess where I was reeled back in with? Is talking about looking at Christianity. I'm like, I don't know, Irish stuff makes way more sense to me. Fairy tales and, you know, the realms and then the gods and all that. Like, that makes so much more sense. And in fact, that's what I really want to believe instead. So, this is what's gotten very interesting in my head when it comes to the religion of my life. I've been feeling somewhat, not necessarily, but a pull to this Catholicism, right? But when I walked to it, you heard my description of my first church encounter. Something just didn't feel right. I don't know how to feel that way, and I don't know why I felt that way, but that's just what it was. It just, as I walked in there and I was seeing this shit, it was half awe and half kind of like, I wouldn't say disgust, but just, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know about this. Now, I listen to myself in those videos a lot, you know. And I've watched that Road to Catholicism, or whatever I call it, the writer's Road to Catholicism. I've watched that countless times. I listen to it. Like I said, these videos are mostly for me. So as I kept listening back to it, it kept dawning on me. The real religion of my life is my book, and everything that I'm learning, I'm taking and I'm putting in there. Everything that becomes the foundation of my life becomes this place. And for the longest time, I didn't want to be blasphemous. I was like trying not to, like, I don't know, like I can't totally believe that this is a religion to me. But then I felt this sensation. I think it was yesterday when I was at work. And I was listening to the video one more time. And it kind of said, what if the Forgotten King is your conveyor, right? I know he is in the book, but what if he's your conveyor to God? What if this right here, what if men fail a lot when it comes to God's call? What if 99.9% of men fail? And that's why, because they don't have enough faith in what they're doing. And that the feeling said to me, what if this is a moment right here, this book, this mythology that you're creating, what if this is the next big thing? I know that might sound blasphemous and egotistical, but that's just what it said to me, because I fight that a lot. I'm like, no, it's not going to be important. If anything, I'll write this book and 4 people will read it and 3 of them will be like, I don't even remember what it was about. That's what I'm expecting, right? But there was that voice that said that to me, the one I always try to suppress. I'm like, no, there's no way this is like going to be a very popular thing. There's no way that this will be a religious experience for people. It can't be. I'm scared of that, and I just would run from this. But eventually, I kind of succumbed to it yesterday and just listened to it. And it was like, you have to think about who the Forgotten King is. Do you notice that you don't ever make gods in your book? You only make people that are lower than gods. As in, the Creator exists. If you remember the Lore series, the Forgotten series, the Creator exists somewhere, but He is absent. And all this shit happens in the book between Dove and Thys and the Titans and the Aeon. And those beings are seen as gods, to lower beings, but they're not fucking gods. They're just beings. And then it just was like, oh yeah, I never really want to make assumptions of the creator. I'm always dealing with what you would consider the fae people, or fairy folk, or angels would be a really good one. Angels and demons. Like, that's what I'm dealing with, is that's who's making the world. But it also exists outside of the circle. It also exists outside of the creator's touch, or within the creator himself. It's hard to say. Depends on which way you like to look at your understanding of theology. We'll say that one. That's up to your understanding. So, that's what I'm just like dwelling on. I'm like, when I hear, I'll go and study videos that'll talk about either esoteric things or certain religious factors, even pastors talking about the Bible and stuff, and every time they're talking, I'm like, oh, I accidentally put that in the book. Oh man, I didn't realize that I was already doing that in the book, and I'm just taking all this stuff, and I'm just realizing, like, this can be exactly what that voice is telling me. It's just like, this is important work. What if most men fail? What if they fail? And there's another part of me that I don't know how to feel about it necessarily, but I've always been looking for our story as human beings, because I just don't trust anything modern, man. I just feel like we're getting shit twisted, and we're getting too concerned about the wrong stuff, and now all of a sudden it matters what color the people were that were the progenitors of life, you know, like that fucking retard shit, right? And I don't agree with any modern idea of shit. So it was always interesting to me to wonder where we came from. Just like any other person on their journey. Where the fuck did we come from, and how the fuck did we get here, and what was everything? The main thing that I've been gathering is the events of the deluge and the events of, well, mostly just the deluge. Let's stick to this one right now. That had to have happened. And the deluge obviously meaning the great flood that happened, that was described by Noah, the Sumerians, and the Greeks, and all these other all these other cultures as well. Go find it anywhere you want. It's a shared common story. And like I found in this book over here, Joseph Campbell. Now, in this, it kind of gives examples of how all these ancient stories, this is the primitive mythologies, kind of all echo the same kind of origin of mankind, how we rose up from great disaster and reformed our civilizations and stuff. And it makes you wonder at it. And as I was making the book, I would always constantly keep this in mind. Now, I didn't know a lot back then when I first started, but I always thought, like, man, the first fucking thing within the first, like, month of making this book, I remember thinking, wouldn't it be something where the world was already made before, but it's restarted, and then the remnants of the old world are still hanging out. In fact, the remnants that exist from the old world are much higher technological advancement than what they have now. Wouldn't that be what it is? It has to be. There would be this crazy tower that these ancient people would understand was actually a radio tower, shit like that. And it just was always something. It was always something, right? And not only that, but the beings coming to this world was always a factor, where this world just existed here, and then they all just came in, and then they played their games and shit. That's always been what was a driving factor in what I'm trying to do here, no matter what it was. And as I kept going and going, I would flesh out the story more and more with the help of other people. And we together would make the understanding that was not some sort of subjective viewpoint, because that was the point of working with the other guys. They helped me take it out of subjective, out of my personal, like, this is all it has to be. When it comes to a lot of the lore, history, and mythology aspects, it was bigger than that. personal story of Eris is mine because that's one person, but the world outside of it's everybody's. And so, in saying that, that was the whole point of what we were setting out to do. The multifaceted nature of self reflected in a universe, in a world that has a multitude of people, groups, entities, and guiding factors that are leading it to some sort of damnation, if you will. And that's what the purpose of the book was. And I felt this divine thing, and it was always searching of myself to try to unravel and put it in this book. But the more I do it, the more I just feel like, man, this is really important. What's happening here? And I try not to get an ego about it. Like, it's only important to me. That's what's important. But I always felt in the back of my head, like, but also to a lot of other people too. I never wanted to acknowledge that fact. I was like, no, why would it be? Don't get egotistical about this. This isn't important to a bunch of people. And it's only until I started really thinking about, like, Jesus that I was like, what if men like that come along all the time? But again, most of them fail. They either succumb to what we would consider sin, or they give up on the path, or they get locked into a mindset. You know, that's where certain religions form. They're just like, oh, we're going to lock in this. It's hard to say, I don't know. But what if that's the case? And there's only but a few that have ever rose above it and fully had faith in this thing. What if that can happen? Because I look at what's going on here, and I think, man, there are other guys involved in this story that I look at as like almost like apostles, if you will. And I get embarrassed talking about this stuff because it's shit that I just try not to let myself feel. You know, I always try to like put doubt in that and say, don't think that way. You're just a human being. You're nothing. I don't want to say that I feel like I am the creator. I mean, I am of the book, but I don't even feel of it in that way. I feel like I'm finding it. And I think that's what makes it okay for me to almost have these thoughts, because I don't feel like I am the ultimate God of my stories, because I'm the one creating it. I don't. I just feel like I'm finding this shit, and I'm like, I'm just gonna put it over here, I guess. I found this here too. Let's put it. I guess I found this. Look at that. Let's put it in the book. You know, that's what I feel more like. It's shit that exists out in this world, and I'm capturing it and bringing it back in. So it's okay for me to say these things, because I don't think I am the one true creator of my own book, let alone anything else. So I don't think I could get that twisted. I'm the finder, I'm the searcher, you know, the conveyor. It's really tough to battle this stuff, because I want to be just a regular fucking dude, you know. I want to just hang out, live my life, and go home. Oh, mama. But there's a part of me that this book, I can't leave it. I can't. There's no way I can leave this book. It's always in my fucking life. Anytime I try to walk the fuck away, like I was I'll listen to like let's say a podcast of something, and it'll just go, what if Eris is truly in the forest for this reason? You know, it always does that to me. I'm just trying to live a life. I'm just trying to like listen to something about history, and like I was telling you about, I was reading about the Crusades and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, that would be like Aya's story, you know. It's always wanting me to go over here, like, take it, come on, let's make the mixture. Let's keep making this cake. And I just don't always want to, but I feel like, I have to do it. And for the longest time, I would just like, I don't know, we'll just leave it alone. But then, I'd come back. And I'd forget everything I've ever done. So now I just take notes, or I'll take videos or audio, like I'll record myself saying something. And then this channel was born. And doing this channel has really helped a hell of a lot. like, and what we're trying to accomplish here. And so that's why it dawned on me yesterday, like, the Forgotten King might be more than some made-up character. He might be the being from some other place that's guiding you. He might be your true spirit. And it was weird to think that. I had never thought that before. I always thought, like, I'm the Forgotten King in the story. Like, I went that way with it. Like, the character in the book is actually me, you know. But I never took it the other way around. I'm like, what if he is trying to lead me? What do I do about that? But it didn't feel wrong in thinking that. It didn't feel like, you're fucking nuts. It was just one of those moments of like, yeah, what if? Like, what if this is truly where it's at? I don't know, man. And like, again, I always say, like, you know, no one has the book. No one has, like, my first one that watches this. So you can't quite see it. You know, you're not there with it to understand what I'm talking about. I don't know when that'll ever get out. I don't know how this shit works. But once you start really reading it and really reading deeply, instead of just surface level, looking at words and putting them together to form sentences, which is what we all do. Can you not, please? You fucking tail. What if you read deeper than that? I think you'd start to see what I'm fucking seeing. Because it kind of blows my mind when I think about the making of this book, where I'm like, bare bones idea of, like, the characters are going to go to this place, and then after that they're going to go here. And somehow sitting down in front of that damn typewriter and, like, I don't even know, like, making things happen. It's crazy to think about. You're just sitting there, you're like clickety-clacking and typing things out, and all of a sudden stories forming, and people are thinking things and doing things and saying stuff, and things are happening around them, and then the world happens. It's crazy as fuck to me to think that that's happening. Pulling it and channeling it from some other place. And then I gotta sit and try to make fucking sense of all the information that I have in my first draft. Like, what the fuck does this all mean? And have to reshape it and stuff, and form it into this new thing, a story, that has to take place in a fucking world that doesn't even exist to 99% of the people in the world. 99.9. There's only like 4 people that know about my world. It's crazy. It really is. I just... Maybe you take it for granted and say, yeah, it's called using your imagination, being a writer, dumbass. But to me, it's bigger than that, because we don't fucking understand what the imagination is. That it's a fucking realm that you can be in. It isn't just this idea. Like, imagination is just, you know, use your own imagination to see it. It's a fucking realm where shit exists and we can enter and exit and be a part of. And from that, beings live inside of that, and they're the ones that convey to us. Like, it's a whole goddamn ass thing that most people will never take seriously. And I feel like that is the everything to what I'm trying to do here. And then all that's being said, and then we have a book now. Let's pretend this is it. We have a goddamn book. That's a story. And you know most people won't fucking get it. Take it seriously. Try to be above it. And like, well, I didn't like this part because, you know, like, I didn't think that the punctuation made sense and shit. You know, dumb fucking stuff that people do. But they get hooked on the wrong shit. And it's like, they just wasted your time and you wasted theirs, in a sense. But it takes the right person to find those words and read it and say, I think I see what you're doing here. I think I see what's happening. This isn't just some fucking thing. Was kind of the mantra of my life is, I don't like fucking around and wasting my time doing things that don't matter. I just don't. If it doesn't fucking matter, I don't waste my time doing it. It's just, no, I'm not gonna fuck around with that. I only try to do things that fucking matter to me or to people around me in a significant way. The joke I always have is like playing a video game, I don't do side quests. I do the main fucking quest first. Let's get that goddamn shit done, then we can dick around with all these side quests. Don't get lost on my path, I go straight forward. And in saying that, that's kind of what I try to do with everything. So this book, I'm like, we need to get to the source of why we're making this book. And it takes a while, and it's difficult, and it's hard every day, and sometimes it's there is no quest marker that I can follow. It's just like, I have to go somewhere in this direction, and we're gonna go. I don't know why or where or how. There's no map to look at. We're just going, you know? So it feels that way in trudging through this, but it's not any different than when men have traversed this world to map it. It's just understanding that that world, Earth that we live on, that was mapped by these men for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Some people are doing that with worlds that you can't see. And that's what I feel like I'm doing. It's just going to a place you cannot see and mapping out this foggy ass fucking place. I don't know where it is exactly, or how to get you there, besides you reading the fucking book. I mean, you going yourself. But the fun part will always be is what can you read between Eris's thoughts about the world around and the world within. I don't know, man. That's how I kind of feel about this whole religious thing. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know about the Catholic part. Because there's so much that doesn't make sense to me. You know what does make sense to me? Celtic/Irish mythology, folklore, fairy tales in my book. Those are the two things that just bloody well make sense to me. Like they just fucking do. Why not go with what you know and just continue down that path? But we'll see what happens from there.